Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Growers Webinar, Optimized Picking, Shipping, and Receiving with Velosio. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us. Just a couple of housekeeping items we'd like to mention before we begin. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We'll be answering questions following the presentation. We're also recording today's webinar, so you'll receive a recording of that in our follow-up email tomorrow. I'd like to go ahead and introduce today's speaker. Todd Waterman is an industry manager at Velosio. He has more than 15 years of experience as a subject matter expert in technology and business software consulting and has an extensive background in the horticultural and agricultural fields and the technologies and solutions specific to the industry. So at this point, Todd, I believe we're ready to transition over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, staying warm. And it is week 9. So for those of you that don't know, I do come from the liner industry and spent many, many years doing that. So everything is going crazy right now in the young plant section of the industry. And I know that all you finished growers are gearing up right now to start your show. So I really appreciate everybody's time to take out to listen to me ramble. So what I want to do today, and the reason we're showing this is, for any of you that's seen my other webinars, this is actually the first one of this year. So it has been a little while, but we've never really shown anything about shipping, packing, picking, things like that. So we figured we would get that in there. I mean, everybody seems to really gravitate towards us for plant production. Obviously, that's very important. And the fact that we do have, plant production in this mainstream Microsoft manufacturing system has really set us apart. But we're going to start showing some other functions in there that some of our customers have seen, some haven't. One thing comes to mind, customer relationship management. I can't even say that. And we're going to be doing a webinar of that in the future. I'm not sure which one that is, but anyway, so look forward to this year of seeing some other parts of the system, as well as recapping and going back to our core plant production and things like that. So I'm really excited about this year and all the different TV shows, so to speak, we're going to bring to you. So what we're going to talk about today is pick, pack, and ship. Now, one of the things that I wanted to just say from the beginning here is, with our system out of the box, it has warehousing. So you can absolutely create loads, you can create, they're called warehouse shipments, and you can create, hold on just one sec, I gotta take a little drink here. Forgive me, I'm starting to catch a cold. So there's a lot of things that we've done with our customers to massage that and add functionality to the shipping process. So whether it's the pick process, sorting, batch, wave, any of that, some of that does not exist in the system out of the box. And so some of the things I'm going to show you is really things that we've done and functions that we've added to the product, and that we will start bundling, and that'll be a choice to add these other functionalities if need be. So with that, we're going to be looking at picking, okay? And so there's basically 3 types of picking, as you all probably know. You could pick just by each individual order, and that's really just entering a sales order, and you can run a pick list from that, right? You could pick by batch, which that would be multiple orders. So you select many orders that you're going to ship together and then have one picking list for that. And then there's also wave picking, which would be several shipments. And so think of it as, it could be trucks, it could be UPS, FedEx, but it could be several waves of truck orders. Like if you have 5 trucks in a day, you'd be able to put all 5 of those trucks into one batch to be able to have one picking sheet for all of the truckloads. Otherwise, you'd be picking for a truck at a time. And when I say that, one of the things I actually just recently wrote a blog about this topic a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that I do say in there is really one size does not fit all. I mean, I've had extensive experience in lean manufacturing. Our practice leader and several of our consultants are lean certified, and there's a lot of great things to learn from that, but it doesn't mean that all of those processes will work for everybody. And to me, usually if you think about picking by order, um, that's usually not that efficient, because then let's say, you have pink petunia on 50 different orders. Well, if you pull by order, you're going to walk to where the petunias are, walk, drive, what have you, 50 times, right? But what if your orders are really big and one order is an entire truckload? Or what if, because of the way that your nursery is laid out, how are the roads? Are they paved? Is it flat? Are there gravel? Where I come from, we had dirt with ruts in it. So we had vehicles that Kubotas that were actually four-wheel drive to be able to, and we had very, very rugged racks built, or trailers to pull. So the point is that you can't really say, and even on the call today, that any of these processes or things I'm going to talk about will specifically work for you. And that's why it's really a moving target. And I always say, really what we do is move the bottleneck around. I spent so many years trying to perfect our pick, pack, and ship process, but you're never done. There's always something that can be improved. And when you make something more efficient in one place, maybe on down the chain somewhere else, it slows them down. So it's never going to be perfect, and it really is something that you continue to work on forever. But so I will be showing you the pick by order, pick batch, and pick wave. One of the disclaimers I do want to say at the beginning is one thing I'm not going to show is any of the reports. The reason is it's actually good. That's part of our implementation, and we know that whether it's a pick list, whether it's your invoice, whether it's a put away sheet, any of those, we help configure those with you, and everybody wants something different. So we don't really have a generic report. So I'm not going to be running any of the reports. What I'm going to show you is the information that the reports would pull from. And so I think you'll get a good picture of that. But so I will be kind of talking through some things I won't be showing. And namely, there's a few items that we are doing and starting to actually create intellectual property of that I do not have in my environment yet. So I'll just kind of fill you in and point out some things that we do have already. Just not able to show it at this time. Okay, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of packing stuff, to automate or not to automate, right? Everybody thinks automation's the key, but how much is all that equipment? Do you have the space for the equipment? How many laborers does it really eliminate? Or can you do it with less people? I've seen automation systems where they are automated, but it's still the same amount of people and really not saving much time, and it's very, very expensive. It's very expensive to upkeep, or if it goes down, the whole line's down. So again, it just depends on the nursery. We've been to a nursery that invested in a lot of high-tech push arms and gravity feeders and all these things that we were able to, less than a quarter of the cost, go in and just do it with a few labels and some field racks and pull carts, and actually do it with less people than the automation took. So just keep in mind that everybody is different. And what the beauty of our company is that we don't sell a single process. We have a canvas that is a beautiful picture all on its own, but we're able to edit that and we're able to add our own flair to it, so to speak. And that's what really attracts me to the system so much, is that you're never stuck, basically. Everybody, because this is a manufacturing system, I will say that, these processes are rock solid. There's 170,000 different companies using this product. So they've done something right. And they've done, so there is in manufacturing a lot of standard processes and things that we should be adopting, because we are manufacturers, whether we think about it or not. The only thing that's different for us is that our product finishes differently every time, but it still is manufacturing. So the system has a lot of things that you can adopt because it's kind of standard manufacturing stuff. So we do try to go out of the box as much as possible and use what's already in the system, but every company has proprietary things that are specific to them with maybe a little bit of massaging or even adding some new functionality, can go a really long way. And also, I spoke a little about picking. What is your area like? Do you have an assembly area? Maybe you assemble inside the greenhouse. I've seen great efficient boxing happen right in the greenhouse with skate rollers laying on the floor. And so there's no automation, anything like that, but they pack those mums in there and slide the box down out onto a rack and take it to the shipping dock. So they're really only touching that product once, right? So that comes down to also workstations, at least trying to get some sort of standard workstation where people aren't just walking around, some sort of line. You don't even necessarily need a conveyor belt, but some area for packing. And I'm really thinking mostly about boxes right now. So all those things really go into it. So there's no way that I can give a webinar today and you're going to leave here and go, I know exactly what we need to do, because there's so many different things involved with it. So as far as shipping and lean flow, I talked about that a little bit. Really, I know there's some great consulting companies out there that have gone in and done great things for the industry as far as lean manufacturing, and none of that is really software. That's all just thought process and your actual processes and steps. They like to say. I like to think to make it really simple. What I always think about lean manufacturing is how many times do you touch the product? And is that adding value to the product? And that's key. But it doesn't, maybe even if there's touches that you want to eliminate, can you eliminate them, right? And also package type, something I've seen some of our customers do things like maybe they had 5 different box size with 5 inserts. Well, they've edited those and got down to 1 or 2 box types. A lot of those things make a big difference. And as far as training, we all know, it's so seasonal where some of the help to where I had in my former life, we had great shipping people that were there year round. But by the time the season came, when everything really counts, and like right now, when we're in week 9 or week 10, all the employees that were there were new and they've never even done this before. So you want to try to make your process as easy as possible. Little things like, where do the carts go? We'll paint rectangles on the ground where they're going to go. Things like that, that's just very visual and very easy to do. Barcoding comes into that too, but with that said, we have a lot of customers that don't barcode at all and are very successful with what they do and how they do it. But barcoding has come a really long way, and there's a lot of information that we can put on that barcode. And I think also if you do have one of your labels on the product that has a barcode that does state when it was planted, things like that, when you get a credit on that item, you'll actually be able to track that back and figure out when that was grown, or possibly even from, if you're using lot tracking, from which batch that came from. And things like area preparation. One thing I used to notice with our team is they would come in at 3 in the morning and then start pulling the pallets over, then start pulling the boxes over and setting up the area where really that should be done the night before or the day before. So you come in, you turn on the lights and start working. Okay. I'm going to just show a couple pictures. One on the left here is kind of standard, or like a CC cart. If you use CC, that's very common for shipping. Some people pull on them. If you have the luxury of being able to pull on the cart that you're going to put on the truck, there is no more efficiency than that, because you're going to touch that plant once, put it on that rack, and then you're going to ship it. On the right is probably more common that we've seen, is that you do have a different pulling rack. Could be a trailer, depending on your environment, but you can see those are much bigger. Big squares, usually not shipping on that for the most part. Maybe sometimes CC racks, or I mean not CC, easy racks are big square like that, and we do have a lot of customers using those. I use those for years as well. But anyway, so we have a pulling cart that is much bigger or different than the actual cart you're going to put the product on to ship. Here's some wood racks. Now this is really nice. Look at, everything's the same size. So the shelving can be all the same. Easy to build, pretty easy to load. So there's not needing to be a major rack optimization going on for this actual picture right here. So that one I would say is pretty easy, right? It looks like they're all quartz, something that's pretty much all the same heights. So pretty easy to build the shelves. But what if all those by genus or varieties are different heights? How do you figure out how to build these shelves, and how do you not leave open space? These are easy racks. The easy racks are great for 4-inch. We found that you could fit the most 4-inch and we would actually ship in the truck on these racks. But you can see the trailers, that's what we pulled with. You can see the big tires and everything. It was because of our environment. So we were actually had to drive around a very hilly, multi-level property. So that's why we had a 4-wheel vehicle so they could actually go up the hills and pull product. But then we had to go through all of those trailers to load these racks. And there was no organization of how the product was pulled or what was on those trailers. So really, it was a cluster. So we started doing this. This is not my picture, but this is something similar that we did with the easy racks. We started putting them on trailers and driving to the finished range and loading all the carts there and then bringing them up to shipping. And so with that small little change, we became much more efficient and cut way down on the amount of time it took to actually pack the pallets. So these are just examples of, there's not one way to do this. And look at in this picture right here, look at it's all gravel. So even if you had great wheels on the bottom of these carts or they were metal or what have you, you can't pull them around. Here's some other shopping racks. And the reason that I chose this picture, it looks like most of the same varieties, but look at how much space is in between these shelves. You could probably cut the amount of racks in half if you were to fill these appropriately as far as the height. You can see most of these shelves can be put up and others can be put in there. And this is also a kind of a visual of pull carts that are lined up to actually pull from. And we're going to be talking about that. And one last picture is the automation. I spoke about this earlier. This is not, I don't know where this came from. This isn't actually one of our customers. It's just a good picture to show those push arms I was talking about. Look at how much space this takes up. And look at how many different, there has to be a person or two at each one of these gravity rollers. So this is an example of what I was telling you about, that we had a company going in this direction. And we were actually, before they purchased all of the equipment, suggested something different, and it really was just with pull carts and really just pulling from those pull carts onto the shipping racks. The problem with some of the automation, and where I came from, we had 300-foot sorting lines with conveyor belts in the middle, and then each tray would get a number of what shelf slot it was going to go into. And the problem with that, though, is that people were standing around waiting for the product to come to them. So we ended up getting rid of the conveyor belts and started more of pulling a cart and pulling from the field racks or pull carts, whatever you want to call them, with those. And then people were moving the whole time and weren't having to wait for that tray or finish to come to them. Doesn't mean that automation is not the way to go, but it doesn't mean that it's the holy grail, right? Same with RFID. Walmart went away from RFID. Everybody has always thought RFID is the holy grail, but it's not necessary, or it's not necessarily true. And it adds a whole another area of problems when you introduce those. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to work, but it doesn't mean if you get RFID that that's going to fix all of your problems. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get to the Velosio solution here and what I'm going to show and talk about today. So as I said, we support all kinds of picking, order, batch, and wave, and we've even come up with our own custom ways per customer because of how they want to work. And the system can be configured to the level of comfort as far as warehousing. Today, I'm going to be showing full warehousing where I have that. It's really, there are check boxes that you turn on per location, whether or not you want to enforce warehouse shipments, they're called, and warehouse receipts and things like that. So the beauty is you don't have to be that strict about any of this. You could go into an order and, like I said, pick from that order and not use any of the warehousing. Some of our things we've added to the product, like shipping package creation. You'll understand that more when I show you. And then also the picking package. We have shipping packages and we have picking packages. As far as I know, any system or third-party racking solution out there does not do this. We are absolutely, you could have per sales item a separate rack for everything. I don't know why you would want to do that, but there's no limit of how many rack types you can have. And you can have different pull racks, you can have different shipping racks, all in the same shipment. You know, maybe you have product that comes in on a easy rack and you want to ship that right out, but the racking solution that you use won't let you use that size cart. So then you're pulling that product off to put it on a more CC type cart. And also the pick reports come out split by puller or group. And there is a load management piece. This is an example of something that I do not have loaded right now, but I will talk about that. And then also there's FedEx and UPS integration. Another great thing about this system is that Microsoft created it to create and encourage a whole field of ISVs. We call them independent software vendors. And there's thousands of them, and all those companies write different solutions for this product. So there is a FedEx and UPS integration. Not really going to show anything on that. All that does is give you the tracking information in the system and print your labels and things. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here and show you the system. Okay, for those of you that have seen this before or seen the system, it is role-based. This is a role that I'm usually not in. This is the shipping and receiving role center. And this is a role that's built in and for when you do have the warehouse management system turned on. And so what's nice about this is all dedicated to shipping and receiving. So right in our role center view here, you can see all of these, actually call this a queue. And all of these little boxes are things that are happening today. And so you can see that I have 11 release sales orders today. If I click on any of these, it will take you right to that and show you the different orders that are shipping today. The system thinks they're shipping today, one, because of the ship date, and also the status is released. If the orders are left open, that means that there'll probably be some changes and you don't want shipping to do anything with it yet. So just know that the status has to be released for shipping to, or so it's you can be able to ship it. Let me go back here. Inbound today, expected purchase order. There's one expected purchase order, and there's an arrival here. We'll look at this in just a second. So what I wanted to do first is just start very basic. And so let's go to our sales orders. I'm going to create a new one. All right, who are we going to sell this to? Let's do okay. Ooh, we have an overdue balance. What is that? This customer owes us some money, $127. I can even click on that and see. There's the invoice. Just had to show that real quick. I love how you can drill down to this information. Okay, so we're going to leave the ship date as today. And what I'm going to do, though, is just to save time, I'm going to just, I have some order lines in Excel here. I'm going to just copy this from here. Oops. We'll just paste it in here. So what's nice is that while it's pasting the information in there, it is actually looking at the availability, and if there's any availability issues or anything, it will come up with an alert. I'm going a little slow today. Come on, there it is. Okay. All right, so I do have 3 notifications. Not enough inventory for that item. Blanket, I'm just going to get rid of those because we don't really care about that at this point. Okay, so let's take a look at what's on our order here. Several different items, and you can see here that this is the package type. The reason we call it a package because it doesn't have to be a rack. It could be a container or a pallet, any type of thing you can configure for this to be. That's why we don't call it rack type, right? We call it a package because you can create your own packages and put in the details, and then the system will be able to figure out how to most efficiently fill it. So right now I'm choosing just a CC rack. You can default this by customer, so it always puts in the rack type of that customer. One thing that I did want to point out on this Buxus right here, this is something that we don't have at this location. We have at one of our other locations. They have to actually dig them up, right, and bring them over. So what I wanted to just point out over here on the right is this availability. It says there's 50 available, and it says the scheduled receipt is 100. If I click on that 50 here and drill into there, let's take a look. This is a transfer order. So that's transferred from our location 700, where the boxwoods are. And even though that product is not even here yet, it knows that it's supposed to arrive today and that order is being transferred. So it does give you an availability number. And I think that's just great, because otherwise I have seen a lot of systems where that has to be received and put away for you to even know that exists or be able to book an order against it. And the same functionality works with purchase orders too. If there's a purchase order supposed to be in today, you're going to see that availability of that purchase order even though it's not even here yet. All right. Okay, so once we've done this, we know that the order's done. This is when we're actually going to create our packages, and that's in this case racks. Okay, I just click this button, and now that quick it created 18 racks. So you can see this number 18 right here on the package count. Let's go take a look and see what it did. Okay, so this looks a little busy, a lot of lines here, but each one of these lines up in this top half here is a rack. They got their independent ID, unique. It's telling how tall it is. That doesn't mean it's usable space, but its height is 100 inches. I put that in the configuration, and this is the sales order that's on it. And layers, these are shelves. So look, there's only 3 layers on this. Well, that's because if we look below, whatever line I click up here, it's showing the different layers of the rack. So you can see layer 1 is these boxwoods. Only 2 fit on a shelf because they're 72 feet high. Sorry, that's a pretty tall boxwood, 72 inches high. So what the system's doing is putting that on the bottom rack. Now, with that said, I know we do have seen a lot where systems or the customer preference is to put the tall stuff on the top, but we have found that really makes it pretty top heavy and has really been more broken or damaged material from that. This can be configured to do it like that if you want, but right now it is putting the tall stuff on the bottom. Now let's go ahead and click on another one. Then we can see we have another one that's boxwoods, because I think we have 25 on this order. So there's going to be several racks with only 2 boxwoods on the bottom. And otherwise, it is keeping the varieties together. So let's click there. I'm going to get down here more. Okay, so now we've packed the boxwoods. Those are done. Now you can see the Angelonia, blue Angelonia is on the bottom rack because, look, the item height is 11 inches, where the next level is 9, and then 8 down here. The reason that there's different colors, that separates the layers. So you can see on layer 2, we have them on white, layer 4, and so on. And then down here at layer 8, this is interesting. This is cool to point out. Look at this, both says layer 8 because it's shared. There's 2 different products, on that layer, and that's why you have the same color twice in a row, because that is one shelf. Oops. What else do we have on here? Gosh, getting click happy here. And then it's telling what the sales order is. So look at right here too. We know that there's 60 of these 4-inch per layer, and per piece, that's 1.67% of the shelf. And it's telling you that the shelf's 100% full. This shelf right here is full, but 50% is one variety and 50% is the other. But look back up at the top at the last rack under the height remaining. This is great information because I know that there's 24 inches left on the cart. Now, at least we had a lot of customers, especially if they're ordering truckloads of finished, that didn't even care what the product was. If they ordered a certain amount of product, we have that load and there's space left on the racks, they want us to fill it, even if they don't know what variety, because they're paying the same amount for the truck. So that's a big deal. As you know, I could have used standard racking here, and we see that a lot, to where it's not really optimized. You know, it's standard, you know, shelf spacing and things, and they say how many of each plant fit on that rack type, but usually that's a limitation of the system, or you know, they're doing it in Excel, and it's very difficult to do. Where with this is an algorithm that's specifically designed to optimize this and make sure that every space on the rack is utilized. So the order entry person can see that there's 24 more inches left. So you could actually go in here and let's just go down to a Super Junior Velvet and put in 550 to see what that does. Now I'm just going to click create packages again. It's going to rip through that again and reconfigure them. Still the same number of racks, but let's see what happened here. Now you can see it even added another shelf, and we have wasted no space. There's no height remaining. And you can see, look at, so we have some racks with 3 shelves, some with 10. There's one with 11. This one has 12, so the system's doing that automatically. So think about all this information here. Remember, I said I wasn't going to show you reports, but look at all the information that you have here. You have each individual rack, what's going to go on it, what shelf it's going to go on, what the variety is. And right here, you see this slot. Those are the slots where the shelves go. So we know that there's a shelf in slot 4, another one in slot 12, another in 20, another in 28. So think about it. We could create a report that's for building these racks. So the day before, if you want, they can actually build them already with the shelf spacing from the information that you have here. Okay. All right. So if we were, I'm just going to go ahead and ship this order. And because now normally if I did not have the warehousing turn on, you would be able to just say post and ship this. But I actually have to create a warehouse shipment, not called, because I'm enforcing this warehousing. But I can write from the, oh, I got to release the order. Remember I said before, it's not going to do it if it's open. And let's create a warehouse shipment. So here's our warehouse shipment and the lines. And so when you create a warehouse shipment, there's just, let's talk about what is a warehouse shipment. A warehouse shipment really is just a group. It could be one order, but it's, or a group of orders that you bring together. I've used systems that call it a master. You know, you're pulling together, like a warehouse shipment could be all your FedEx orders. One warehouse shipment, or each warehouse shipment could be a different truck. It's basically, you're bringing all of this in here, and all it's showing is the actual sales lines, each item, but this is where your pick comes from. So you get it in the warehouse shipment, and then it's going to create a excuse me, warehouse pick for this one order. In this case, sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to say create pick. Real quick, one of the things that can happen in here is you could say how you want it sorted. There's things called bin ranking, to where then it will point out where to go. A bin in the system can be anything. A bin could be a whole warehouse. A bin could be one little spot on a shelf. It's really all what you make them. And so the bins is the location of the product. So they're directed to where to go pull it from. Okay, I'm just gonna say okay. And now this created one pick. So I don't want to jump around into too many windows, but what I'm gonna do here is go back to our roll center real quick. And now we can see there's one pick inside here. The reason I come back to this is because I'm wearing a couple hats, right? I'm kind of playing the manager and somebody that's really assigning things and all this. And then there's another roll center really is for the warehouse employee that's picking, moving, shipping, and has less of these buttons. But so I could assign that to them, but then they would just see this as one of the picks they got to do. Let's go ahead and look at it. So this is the warehouse pick, and it's basically per line saying that we need 250 of these and we need to go to house one. To keep it simple, I am using just one bin. So I'm saying that this comes from house one and goes to the shipment area. They all basically say the same thing, but imagine if you had several different bins and you had several different shipping areas or bays, docks. This can be showing you where to go get it and then the different areas in the shipment. I'm just saying shipment area, making it very broad just to keep it simple. But so this is going to be used to go do the pulling. And then once I'm done, I'm going to say I already picked all this, so I'm just going to say register the pick. Okay, now it just disappears. So it's done. But if I go back to my warehouse shipment, now we can see the quantity picked and all that. And we got a problem right here though, because look at, we don't have our boxwood. But remember, I was talking about that transfer order, we looked at that. So what I can do is, that's my arrival. So this is the transfer order that's coming in. So let's pretend the truck just pulled up and it's bringing us these 100 boxwoods, okay, from our other location. And so this warehouse shipment obviously is just for the main location, and the bin it's going to is the receiving bin, which is the receiving area. But this is one thing I wanted to point out here is this cross dock. I can click this calculate cross dock button. And what that's saying is we know that an order that you're waiting for that's been picked or that's going out today is taking 25 of these 100. So it's going to say leave those on the dock. Don't put them away. Because why go put them away just to have to go pull them again? So this button, calculate cross dock, looks for those opportunities, and you can specify how many days, or if it's shipping out this day, or to look over 2 days, 3 days, what have you, for opportunities to cross dock. And so I'm going to post this receipt and say, yes, we did get this. And then that also deletes the transfer order. But look what it did. It created a put away. Remember, I'm being real strict here. So I do have putaways going on too. So that's another warehouse employee or the same one. We'll see that there's a put away now. Because what happened is, we received it, but it's still sitting on the dock. So everybody in the system is going to see that it's there, but it's still on the dock. But once that we actually put it away, and let's see, where is this saying? Ship and code from receive. See, so look at, here's what we got. We got take this boxwood from the receiving area, or this is really what we have, I should say 100. But then it's saying place 25 of them at the cross dock area, which is right by receiving or shipping. And I don't know why it says assembly. I have the wrong bin. It probably should be house one or something, but it's saying then take the other 75 and put them away. Okay. So let's go ahead and say we did this. All of this can be done via their phones, tablet, whatever. It's device agnostic. And so a lot of these things, when you're we're looking at these blue buttons, and that part of the reason they design it like that is because it transfers to the mobility so nicely where you see those on your screen. Okay, let's go back to our warehouse shipment. Let's do the pick again. I'm going to browse to the pick right from here, actually. You can do that as well. Let's see what we got. So a couple things I want to talk about here. One of the things that we've heard some companies struggle with is that if everything is not, if there's not availability of everything that's on the pick, it won't even let you print the pick at all. The way this system works is it's going to put on the pick what it does have, right? So everything else on this warehouse shipment, we did have, what do you call it? We did have the availability except for this one, okay? So when I ran the pick again, it was just the one leftover item, so that it doesn't stop you from continuing the process, keep going. Then when the product gets there, just run the pick again and it'll be the missing items. And then you can just put it on there, okay? So let's just go back here. We'll register the pick. All right. So now you can see the quantity picked is the same. And now from here, I can just ship it. So this has direct relationship with that order. So you don't ever go back to the order to mark it as shipped or to update the quantity shipped or any of that. You just all work from here, and then you would just post the shipment. Let's see if I have any setup errors here. Okay. All right. So that's a basic out of the box, creating a warehouse shipment and creating the pick. Now we do, a lot of our customers use just that out of the box function, and we do work on how the pick is laid out, the report and things like that to make it work as best for them, but that is more out of the box. Now I'm going to show you a different way where we're going to start from a warehouse shipment. Put this in here. Okay. Now I'm going to start right from here and actually say get source documents this way. So this is a way, this is all the different sales orders. I can even filter them right now. Remember I said we're only looking for released orders, but if I wanted to get rid of this filter, I could see all the orders. If for some reason you want to see maybe customer service or something, someone missed something or a order that should be going, if you wanted to see the open orders, things like that. This gives me a lot of information in here, but the beauty is, as part of the implementation, a lot of times people want different fields in these areas, which is, you don't even call that a customization. But it's very easy to do. So I could see wanting state in here, or zip code, maybe territory, things like that. So you could even from this screen figure out what's going to ship together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter for this one customer here. And this has 3 orders. I'm going to grab those and bring them in. Total package count is 41. So those are the shipping packages, okay? So there's 41. A truck holds about 45 of these. So probably I would maybe have customer service call them and say that there's 4 more racks can fit on the truck. They probably will tell you to go ahead and add them. But I'm going to just leave it here right now. And so what's different about what I'm doing here, one of the things I wanted to show you too is it shows the 3 orders. We can see the rack count or package count of each one, right? But what we're going to do now, we're going to do something differently. What I'm going to do is actually say what package. So it's going to be field 1, because what I'm going to do here is we're going to create our pull cards. And we'll say puller 1. Now I could just do my F8 real quick down here. All right. But keep in mind, If for some reason, Mom, you pulled on a different cart than you did on this Lysimachia, you can have a different cart or package per line if you want to. I'm going to break this up between a few pullers here. And let's make this puller 2. And puller 3. All right, now here's where the magic happens. So now I've assigned this what kind of pull cart I'm going to use, the pullers that are going to actually do this. And now I can go up to actions here and say, configure the field racks. Let me jump out of here real quick to show you what's going on here. Okay. Oddly enough, we have 42 field carts and 41 shipping carts, but that's my configuration probably. Okay. So now what this did is this did not create shipping carts. We already know there's 41 carts that are going to go on the truck for the CC rack that I had in the order. But now what this did is actually created and optimized the pull carts. So every one of these carts, and look, it's assigned by puller. There is basically where the work order or the pick list is going to come from, this information for puller number 1. This is also giving us all that same things, how many layers are used, how much height is remaining. But what's key to understand here is that now there is a connection between the carts that are going to be shipping and the field carts. So we know what shelf. Let's take a look on layer 1 of this field cart. I know it's in slot 4. The height, yeah, well, we had that on the others, but we know what the item is. And some of these are blank, but look, we have bin sequence, item sequence, pick preference, your pick sequence. Those are all to be able to, really have the most efficient path. We call that like a pick path of really optimizing where they're going to go. So they go to, it takes them a logical way around, so they're not going back and forth from different houses and stuff. So here we have pick sequence and all these different things, but think about the reports that can come from this. Now we bring all of these field or pull racks into the area, and then there's a report that's going to tell them to grab a shipping cart, and it's going to take them through and tell them remember all of these have individual numbers, so it's going to tell them what field rack to bring the shipping rack to and what to pull off what shelf. So that's a way that you can go pick big mass bulk, bring them in, and then actually shop the pull carts and this is really widely used in the industry in different flavors. It is very efficient. This is something that we did replace a lot of automation with. So hopefully you can visualize that this has everything from where to pick, what shelf it's going to be on. And because it was created in this warehouse shipment, all of this is connected now. And so what we would do is print a picking list by puller, and they would pull it in, and then there's another report that they take to actually by order go and actually pick the items and then go put it by the dock. One piece that's not in here is the load management, and just a couple things about that. I have a list here about what it does. I'm just about to install this, but there's another fast tab. These are fast tabs here. See how we got an order tab here. But so when the load management, there's another one that has the sales order, the PO number, stop number, load sequence, customer PO, delivery date and time. And then there's a truck tab showing the truck date, size, who the driver is, pickup date and time. So there's other things in here. Really doesn't have to do with the optimization at all, but is more informational about the load and where it's going. And then you also have a summary of rack types, and it will also give you the freight costs per load if you are using that. And with the last way to pick is wave. All a wave is, I'm going to go ahead, let's go back out of here. if I go here to pick batch, do a new one of these. The only difference between a wave and what I just showed you as far as the batch is you're picking multiple warehouse shipments. So what if you had 10 trucks going out today? So each truck is its own warehouse shipment, but then you'd have to do 10 different picks. Maybe you want to go do a pick for everything to bring in those pull racks. So then each truck can be shopped from those pull racks. And that's what you would do here. So I could just, let's just say test. I could say it's wave number 1. And then you go into here and you're going to see any warehouse shipments. So I could choose both of these or several of them. It brings multiple warehouse shipments in here, and then you create those field carts or pull racks from here in exactly the same way that I just showed you. All right. So I know we've seen a lot here. I'm hoping you got something out of it. The main thing that I really wanted to get out of this is showing some of this racking optimization that we have. This has been something that has been a gap that we see as a real need for it in the industry because of how many times we've created different things like this. So like I said, we are beginning to have this as a part of the Velosio solution of really different items that you can add. Doesn't mean that it comes with it. Obviously it is extra, but now we're going to have it really ready to sell to other customers. So it's really exciting to me and be able to show you some of the custom work we do when we come in, because every implementation really fits like a glove by the time we're done, and your implementation is nothing like anybody else's. And your system doesn't have to have the same version and same updates or anything. Everybody's separate. So where I came from, if I wanted to do a racking solution or something like this or something that's specific to me, everybody had to have it. So we had to vote on it or get it into the system to where it's really nice like this, that you can get the system to work exactly like you want it, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing. So I really thank for everybody for listening to me ramble on for a whole entire hour in your busy day. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Todd. We did get a couple of questions. Can I edit how my system assembles the racks?
Yes. Yes, you can. That's the beauty, is you can use the algorithm, that create packages, and it can create them, but you can go in and change it around. If you see some of the items aren't grouped together or something like that, then you can switch it around, edit it afterwards. One of the things that I'm not able to show is we would call what we would call what I showed you today is more order to rack, meaning it looks at what you put on the sales order and then puts it on a rack. There's also another feature that we call inventory to rack, and that would be where you actually create the racks, or some people call them kits. We're going to create the racks and say what's going to be on them. Maybe you have Mother's Day something at Home Depot and you want to create 4 rack assortments and things like that, so you're able to on the fly build that. You're also able for the system to create those on the fly and edit. So yes, there's a lot of functionality in there as far as that, to where you're not stuck with how the optimization happens.
Do you have truck routing?
That is one thing that there are lots of companies out there. We've integrated with several of them. Appian is a really good company that we've done before, and those are a company that writes the direct route and some of these automatic routing systems. But what we find, one, those are very expensive, and can be totally worth it. Don't get me wrong, but we find that a lot of our customers, they know where they're going. They're going the same lanes all the time. They don't really need a routing system to tell them the best path to take. So really all of the hard stuff happens with the pick, the pack, the sorting, all of that. So that we found, once that we gave that functionality and also a way to manage the loads and to have that information, by all means, if you want to do a routing system, we can. So it's really up to you, but we've really made it to where you can go without it.
Perfect. That is all of the questions we have for today. So I just want to thank you, Todd, for the great presentation, and thanks everyone for attending. I hope you have a great day.
All right, thanks everybody.